You gotta go home. Out of my country.
Our second segment on In Your Interest is about a disturbing video, but it does not just end with that video. An Indian origin couple standing calmly in what appears to be a parking lot in the United States, being aggressively being told to go back, leave the country and get the beep out of America. You see, no provocation, no confrontation, no aggression from their particular side. Just one uncomfortable question hanging in the air. Has xenophobia against immigrants, especially visible minorities, now become normalized in parts of the West? You see, we'll play this video out for you, and then we'll come back for more. Esteemed set of panelists with us on the broadcast to help us understand and decode this video.
Are you from India?
Yeah.
Yeah, you like America?
Yeah.
What's better, America or India?
Both of them has both.
Well,
India has family.
India is so incredible. Why don't you just stay in India? Why do you have to come to America?
To explore world.
No, we don't want you here. You gotta go home.
Okay.
Out of my country.
You see, what makes this video striking is not just the abuse itself, but how casual, confident, and public the hostility appears to be. The man repeatedly questions why Indians come to America. He asks whether India is better, and when the couple calmly says that they are there to explore the world, the response turns openly exclusionary. Get out of my country. That phrase has now become central to a much larger global debate. And this is where the story moves beyond one viral clip, because across many Western democracies today, immigration, identity, and economic anxieties are colliding in an increasingly polarized political environment, especially in the West. Rhetoric to street-level hostility, anti-immigrant anger is becoming more visible, more louder, and at times disturbingly performative. You see, what makes this contradiction sharper is this. Indian origin communities today are among the most economically successful immigrant groups in the United States. From technology, medicine, to academia, entrepreneurship, talk about hospitality, Indian Americans contribute massively to the US economy despite making up just a small percentage of the entire population. Indian-led startups, Indian origin CEOs, doctors, researchers, hotel owners, scientists, students, I mean the list goes on, and yet even highly successful immigrant communities are not insulated from identity-based hostility, which raises another uncomfortable question. Is this resentment purely cultural, or is it also economic and political? Because historically, immigrants often become easy political scapegoats during periods of insecurity, periods of job anxiety, and polarization. Over the last few years, anti-immigrant rhetoric has repeatedly entered mainstream political discourse in the West. Indian origin leaders have faced racist attacks, stereotypes have been amplified online, and social media has increasingly blurred the line between fringe prejudice and public discourse. What was once whispered anonymously online is now sometimes, like the video on your screens, said openly out there onto the streets. And somewhere in the middle of this debate lies another important question. How should victims react? Take a look at this case as well. The Indian couple in this viral video stayed calm. They did not escalate, they did not retaliate. Many online praised their restraint and dignity. Others argued silence risks normalizing such behavior further. There is no easy answer there, because for many immigrants and visitors abroad, personal safety often becomes the first instinct in such moments. So tonight, this discourse is not just about one racist confrontation caught on camera. Are Indians abroad facing growing hostility? Has political polarization normalized xenophobic behavior? And are immigrants increasingly becoming the easiest targets in divided societies? Surinder Singh Lalli, US and Canada expert with us on the broadcast. Mr. Lalli, what's your opinion? Here is someone who's closely connected with the Indian diaspora, especially in the United States and Canada. Racist confrontations, time and again, against Indians becoming more visible, more openly expressed in West today.
Thank you, Kabir. It's such a pleasure and honor for me to be here. And I've lived in the West for almost one third of my life.
Yeah.
Cowhead, camel jockey, raghead, jungle bunny, and sand. I don't want to use the last word, which starts with N. This is what they normally call our black brothers. Sand, the word with N. I've
Yeah.
been called. 3 years ago, I had gone to my homecoming at my university in Charleston, South Carolina, and I went to a bar called Magnolia's, which is in the French Quarters, and I was refused to be served. I don't know. Maybe the bartender didn't like the color of my turban. I don't know, but I was refused to be served. Yes, in the same breath, I'll say that my American fraternity brothers stood up for me, and I said, no, it's okay. I don't want to as they say, you don't fight with the pig because the pig likes it that way. And somebody who's foolish enough to judge me without knowing me ain't worth my attention. And let me tell you, we Indians are some of the best people as far as dealing with adverse situations is concerned, because we've actually gone there for roti, kapda, and makan. And we've never been known for somebody who's making noises and trying to antagonize people, because that's not our territory. And given the kind of guns and laws,
But I think
I'm
that's
not
the
saying
problem.
that-
Job anxiety is the problem, isn't it, Mr. Surinder Singh? I mean, the roti, kapda, makan is a major problem for them.
I don't think it's a problem, because maybe we're too clarified not to indulge and go down and stoop to the level of an individual. And let me tell you, in the same breath, I'll say there aren't many. The majority of Americans are great people. So I'm not going to paint everybody with the same brush. And we have idiots in our country too, as Marco Rubio said, that there are idiots everywhere, but no, behold, he didn't realize. And the Indian journalist was too nice to him to tell him that, excuse me, sir, it's the president of America who said that Indians are laptop gangsters and we come from a hellhole. So we saved Marco Rubio the embarrassment, and not to mention he's not even Westby white either, he's Cuban. So he'd be probably subjected to the same kind of racism that I would be if I'm not wearing a turban. But 5 years ago, I was pulled up in Europe too. I was taking a small flight from a small town in Italy called Carpi to Barcelona. And for some reason, again, I don't think the pilot liked the color of my turban, with a small airline called Dolomiti. So as soon as I land in Barcelona, 7 cop cars come to pick me up. And I said, why? They said, because the pilot found you suspicious without knowing me, without having a conversation, maybe my facial hair, maybe the brown skin. And Kabir, it goes back into the 80s when I went there as a kid. There was a gang in New Jersey called the Dot Busters who would identify Indian women, and Dot meant a bindi, and they would then violently attack. But unfortunately, politicians in the West, for their narrow-vested interests, demonize immigrants. They demonize them not because maybe you're not worthy of that. That's why they resort to such pity, sad states of being, where they resort to violence. But let me tell you, I'm so happy. I think my Indian brothers and sisters and the gentlemen in this video dealt in absolutely the right manner, because we are not there to antagonize and go down to the level. We are there for much better reasons, and these idiots are not worth our time.
But then what do you say to people who are saying that, if you do not react, if you do not retaliate, then that normalizes this xenophobic behavior? And there's a thin line to that. I think
you have a great point. Let me tell you something.
Yeah.
I think it's a great point. Let me tell you. No response A is a very powerful response, number one. Number two, I think us Indians also need to understand that's not our territory, that's not our circus, that's not our monkey. We also need to integrate into their society, not live in our chambers, because it's their country and we'll antagonize people. So we need to involve ourselves in their cultural and civic activities, especially when it comes to philanthropy. I'm not saying that's in any way that we are being, succumbing to the pressure, but let's understand.
But then the U.S. economy, the U.S. society also needs to meet the Indian origin, Americans halfway. I mean, you need two hands, to make that clap sound. And when we're talking about that, we're best at, when it comes to entrepreneurship, look at 60% of the hotel industry that's being led by Indians over there. There is so much that the Indians are doing. When it comes to philanthropy, I think the U.S. society and the U.S. government needs to do a little bit more as well.
It's very unfortunate. I think you're making a very valid point, but if you look at the current American dispensation, they're working the other way around. They're demonizing, I mean, if you see the ICE, which is the Immigration Customs Enforcement, and there was a fantastic caricature where they're running around town with almost a Pantone shade card, which you find in a paint shop, and trying to see people, whoever's brown, they say, come here. Your civil liberties, go down the street, show me your papers. So I don't know if we can change the system that easily and tell Americans, but we need to change ourselves in order to create a good, safe space for us. So it's not that simple, but we'll have to do it because, as they say that if you got to live on their land, somewhere we'll have to subscribe to what they are doing in terms of social responsibility. Because let me tell you, a lot of us Indians live in our small cocoons in our communities, which they don't like either. I mean, when we play loud music on the garbas and then give baras on the street, I'm not too sure we should be doing that because we might be antagonizing them. So somewhere we need some political correctness too. I know I'll be thrown under the bus for this comment of mine, but you got to understand that you got to play by the rules if we want to go and benefit out of those fantastic infrastructure, quality of life, fantastic pay. Somewhere we'll have to, understand that what is right and what is wrong in terms of political correctness.
All right. Mr. Lally, do stay on with us. Let's again, for those that are just joining us, let's play out that very racist exchange that happened in a U.S. parking lot. We'll play that again. More questions coming right on the other side. Mr. Surinder, please stay on with us.
Are you from India?
Yeah.
Yeah, you like America?
Yeah.
Which better, America or India?
Both of them has both.
Well,
India has family.
India is so incredible. Why don't you just stay in India? Why do you have to come to America?
To explore world.
No, we don't want you here. You got to go home.
Okay.
Out of my country.
Surinder Singh Lally, we know that the fringe prejudice, it exists. It exists, across the globe. But now that this really demonizing, dark hatred that is usually seen on anonymous handles online is spilling out there onto the streets, which is why, one of our, branding also suggests that right from the Silicon Valley, this dirty racism is spilling out onto the streets. How much of this growing anti-immigrant rhetoric, we've heard stuff like, the White House is going to smell like curry. We've heard the hellhole comment that you spoke about coming from nobody but the U.S. president. And you had Marco Rubio who had to come here and clarify that particular statement. How much of this growing anti-immigrant rhetoric in the United States especially is being shaped by political polarization, the political time, midterms right around the corner, the election narratives, and economic insecurity? I remember we were speaking to you that were raised on that as well.
Kabir, I think you have a great point, but what's shameful is not these people from the Rust Belt states and the rednecks. What's sad is that across the world, politics is leaning right wing. So these politicians, to capture the majority of people who are not successful, unfortunately, in any country, these people make a big vote bank. So the politicians pander to them by demonizing the foreigners. So that's very unfortunate. What you're saying is, I totally agree with it. But I have a question for you, Kabir. Where is our so hugely successful diaspora sitting?
You're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. Where are the big wigs? Where are the big wigs? I mean, everybody's talking about the liquor cabinet that Kash Patel has, but nobody is talking about how, where is Kash Patel? Why isn't he voicing his own concerns and issues like these?
Kabir, let me tell you, if anything that is absolutely democratic and sacrosanct is a comedian. Because, comedian is smart enough to capture the imagination of the people in a society. And when people have to instantly react, they're very, very nonchalant with it. So if you look at what Ansari Patel did on Kash Patel on Saturday Night Live, he said, quote opens, "I'm the first Indian who sucks at his job," quote close. And then he says, "I'm as good as the whites." Or if you look at Gabriela, who's known as Fluffy, he said two Indians went there to rob a bank, but the manager wouldn't take him seriously and said, Indians don't know how to rob, keep the gun down and take my computer and fix it. And even Trevor Noah, He talks about, Rishikesh, we want to rob the world, but he says Indians can't even do that. They can't even be part of mafia because they're good businessmen who always, mind their own business. So the larger point I'm trying to make here is the definite reputation we as Indians have, majority, because you can't generate humor, by politically being either on the left or the right, because people react to what they feel instantly. So I would look at them, all Americans, who are still great people, and not look at these idiots. I'm sorry to be saying this on TV. These idiots who are an aberration.
You don't have to be sorry, Mr. Lally. The US Secretary of State said that there are idiots. There are idiots in the United States as well. And, you've quoted that fluffy joke about 3 times on In Your Interest Now, and it never gets old. It's always the right, it's always the right way, and it's always the right tone and tenor. My final question to you, Mr. Lally, before we wrap this up, social media. How has social media changed things? Has social media making prejudice more performative? It's more likable. There is a validation button on social media platforms. It's made it more public. It's made it more socially amplified than before. Social media and its role. Would you like to throw some light on that?
I think that's a brilliant question, and I have 2 words to say. Social media has done nothing but fraught and polarize this world. Any inconsequential idiot who sits in his basement, you allow me to use that word, Kabir. Any inconsequential idiot sitting in his basement can go out and spit venom against any community. So if anything, social media is vitiating, it's violating, and it makes even the good people live in a minority. There's a beautiful statement I read that it's not the bad people that ruin a system, it's the good people by not taking part of it. And in any country, there are too many idiots on social media who probably have nothing better to do. They probably had a very disturbed upbringing, and then all they do is come and vomit on social media. So we need to ignore such individuals because they are nothing else but negative energy. And we can always not respond to them at the risk of repeating Kabir. No response is a very powerful response because you have a much larger objective to feed our children, to give them good quality of education. That's what everybody thinks. Get our daughters married and send some money back home. So these small, inconsequential people do not matter. I mean, I don't even find them relevant enough to respond to them because they're not worth my time.
Okay, all right. I think we'll leave it there. Many thanks, Mr. Lally, again for taking our time and speaking to us here on News 9. Perhaps the real concern is when racism becomes casual, becomes public and camera-friendly, societies risk normalizing hostility itself. And the viral video, this may fade, this may, get brushed aside from our memories, but the larger question will continue to remain. In an increasingly polarized world, social media playing its own part, just like Mr. Lally said, are immigrants becoming easy targets for deeper political and economic anxieties? Many thanks for watching. In Your Interest, we're going to catch you again next week. We leave you with this video. Watch this racism and this racist exchange out there blatantly onto the streets yet again.
You gotta go home. Out of my country.